All right, everybody. Welcome to another Speak Your Mind episode, powered by TorchPro, of course. Riles, favorite animation movie. Now you have a young one, and Sing is on the television at all times. But you can even chuck it back a little bit to the early animation days. And is there one movie that just sticks out where you're like, no matter how old I am, I have fond memories, and I just love this flick?
I mean, yeah, you gave an honorable mention to Sing. It's literally on the TV in the background, and my son is sitting directly in front of me by himself on the couch like he's
with the
20
remote.
Years old. No remote in hand, just eyes peeled on the TV. So that one, it's actually been a good one to watch because it's very musical, a lot of good voices. So I enjoy watching, and he watches it over and over and over and over. Marshawn Lynch over and over, yeah. And I watch it with him. So that, I guess, is going to be the top of my list right now. But when I look back at when I was younger and movies that I really, really enjoyed, I mean, we talked Toy Story. Toy Story series is unbelievable.
The best.
Yeah, we watched those ones a little while ago, and it definitely brought me back. So Toy Story as of when I was young, and then Sing 1, Sing 2 right now are at the top of my list. What about you?
Wow, you are going Toy Story, eh? Oof. Were you a Woody or Buzz guy?
It's tough because there were so many traits of Woody that I didn't like when Buzz came into the picture, but then he comes around, right? And I don't know. I'd say Woody.
Our next episode is just going to be a Toy Story breakdown.
Yeah, seriously. When you watch it when you're older, you pick up on so many little lessons, obviously, because you're more developed. but no, it's good. I like that story.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, that's a tough one. Like Finding Nemo is definitely up there. I'm actually just changing my answer on the spot right now. For the audience, I originally had Shark Tale. Shark Tale was, just the classic clear picture of the whale wash. I think that is iconic. But I'm actually going A Bug's Life. For some reason, A Bug's Life is just always stuck with me. I don't know what it is. I just have no real connection to bugs. It's not like I'm a big insect lover. Anyways. But yeah, I think A Bug's Life is probably mine. So, but anyways.
I used to have the Bug's Life video game. Just a quick little tidbit in there.
Really?
Sega Genesis. So that was, I remember it being a good game.
You are old.
All right, let's get going.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we had the absolute pleasure. As you'll see in the episode, there was a piece where I just went full Penguins fan. I'm a huge Pittsburgh Penguins fan. I always have been. It's obviously very related to Sid, and everybody can call me a bandwagon or whatever. We had the absolute pleasure of bringing on Bryan Rust. Rust was a part of both those 16-17 championship teams in Pittsburgh. That was the early days of his career too. So imagine winning, 2 Stanley Cups right off the hop. But I think the other side of Bryan Rust is a very proactive, a very accountable, a very, forward-thinking individual who just loves being able to make an impact. You'll hear a little bit more about Bryan Rust's story in the episode with his speech impediment and, being able to help kids who are maybe going through the same thing that he went through early on. But yeah, Riles, I think Rusty's just a guy that you just love having on your team, and I can tell just by that, just the connection you guys made in Notre Dame. But yeah, I just really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, Rusty's a good buddy of mine, and he's had a hell of a career and some great accomplishments. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Seeing what he's doing away from the rink for me is trumps all of the accomplishments from a hockey standpoint. And he hasn't really changed much since Notre Dame from a personal level, but just seeing how he's developed and seeing things come out of him, it's amazing. And I think his on ice game, his versatility and his willingness to do all those little things and then create make big plays. I think it shows the way he is off the ice too. He's very cognizant of all the elements of his life, and he's got a great wife and family, and he's doing great things. So he had a lot to contribute in our conversation, and we had a great time.
Yeah. We hope you we hope you enjoyed as much as we did, because I know I learned a lot. And for any hockey players that are kind of, maybe going through, that transition period too, whether it's to college to pro, I think the way he thinks about things is a good reminder and a good humbling reminder for maybe a lot of individuals. So please enjoy our good friend, Bryan Rust.
Rusty, thank you for joining the Speak Your Mind podcast. How are we doing so far? What's been going on? You're in Arizona, right?
Yes, I'm in Arizona. We just got in from Vegas last night at like 2 a.m.
Was that the start of the road trip? Was Vegas?
We actually were in
you had
Boston first for the Winter Classic for a few days, then we went to Vegas for a few days, and now we're here. So we only played 3 games, and it's a 9-day road trip. So it's a little bit weird.
Now, is that nice? Do you like? Are you? I mean, you have the family at home. Sometimes it's hard on the road, but what's your thoughts about that? It's kind of 3 games in 9 days. That's a long one.
It's weird, but everyone came to Boston. Everyone came for the Winter Classic, so it was fun to have everyone there. And then it's weird just to go from city to city and have a couple days and just try and find something to do. But we have rookie party tonight, so that should go for a little bit of fun tonight.
What's do you know the plan? Where you're headed?
All I know is it's the standard. We're going to dinner, and it'll be a nice long dinner with a large bill and some fun and some shenanigans, and then going somewhere else after that.
Out of all the teams I played for, Ty, I've never played with a team that would run the bill up so much as Pittsburgh did at dinner. It was crazy. Guys know what they like. That's for sure.
We got a couple of guys with some expensive taste, so things get a little out of hand quickly.
Yeah.
And how was the, obviously, outcome didn't come or didn't happen as much as you'd like, but like, how was the Winter Classic? Like, did you enjoy it? Was it hard to like fully embrace it because it was just like so busy, or like, what was that like for you?
It was really cool. It was, there was a lot going on. We had a whole bunch of stuff scheduled, but honestly, give credit to the Penguins and the whole organization. Like, they made sure everybody was really comfortable, made sure how the families were taken care of so the players didn't have to worry about it. Like, transportation, everything was all taken care of. On New Year's Eve, they had a whole thing set up. There was stuff for the kids. There was like mini six, a bounce house, like all these things for the kids on New Year's Eve. And then it was a cool little party. And then, so they made it as easy on us as possible. And then the game itself was awesome. And it was cool. The crowd was huge, and it was a fun experience. Obviously, we would have liked to win, but
what is that? How many you've played? Because you played Philly, and then you played one at Notre Dame and Chicago, right?
2 at Notre Dame. My senior year as well. We played at Fenway too, and then 2 against Philly. 1 year I was hurt, so I technically only played 1, but should have been 2, and then this one. So.
Yeah, I knew that because your little you and Giroux, the little sound bite from that was the or that was an outdoor game, right?
Yeah, that was the I think 2018. That was the
Ty, did you ever see that
Stadium Series?
No.
What were you guys jawing about?
Somebody, I think at the time our goalie was Matt Murray, and I think he had knocked the net off, and he's trying to yell at the ref like that's a penalty, and I'm just like squealing back at him. No, that's not a penalty. That's not a penalty.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's amazing. Well, yeah, I mean, we never really like to have like a plan for, our podcast. We want to make it, as natural as possible, but like, let's chuck it back a little bit to Notre Dame days. I mean, obviously I know that's how you and Riley kind of know each other, but, getting to Notre Dame and kind of being able to play for like that story, like that playing for Notre Dame is amazing. Like, I feel like there's just no other way to put it. And like, how was that like getting there? Like, was Notre Dame like number 1 on your list? Like, was it like a process to get there, or like, how did that kind of go about?
Luckily for me, I was recruited fairly early when I was younger, and my older brother played 4 years at Michigan, played a year of pro in Wilkes-Barre, and it was kind of either I wanted to play with my brother or play against him. And I was always known as like Little Rust growing up, and Matt's little brother. He was a stud. was an unbelievable player. Played at the U.S. national program. Played 2 World Juniors. Like he was awesome. So I was like, I think maybe I'll try and veer off and make my own path. And it was basically between Notre Dame and Michigan. And I went to the campus, and like within 10 minutes, I'm like, if this can get done, I'm in. Let's do it.
Did Rusty? I was trying to formulate the way, like, how I wanted to ask you this question. Keisha was sitting there. We were trying to figure it out because Keisha's a little more linguistic than I am. But
no, are you sure?
I think when I looked at, like, when we played together in Notre Dame, we played together for 2 years, and I like remember, like, freshman year, you were good freshman year. Sophomore year, correct me if I'm wrong, you kind of, I mean, just being honest, it was like a little sophomore slump, right? So where I wanted to go with it was, like, from your junior year, I mean, I wasn't there, so I never got to see you play, but you started taking steps forward, and you took more steps forward your senior year, you turned pro, and it kind of seemed like your junior year created a trajectory for you to go upwards, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Like, what clicked from that sophomore year to your junior year where you were like, okay, I got to figure shit out. I got to sort of dial in, maybe focus more, whatever, confidence, whatever. Like, what kind of, when you look back, what do you attribute that sort of step forward to?
Yeah, you're right. Sophomore year, I was brutal, actually.
Just to let you know, I didn't think about it in my head, like, oh, Rusty was awful sophomore year.
If you would have told me right now I was brutal, I'd been like, yeah, I was brutal. But I was fat and I was brutal, so I didn't take things too seriously. I had come from the U.S. program, and I figured everything was just going to be given to me, and I was going to be given minutes and given these opportunities and all that stuff. And over the course of that year, I kind of quickly learned that wasn't the case. And but I was still pretty hard-headed about it. I was still, throughout the year, thinking that. That's why I never really got out of that year. And for lack of a better word, I was very entitled. And towards the end of that year, Coach Jackson and I, at our end-of-the-year meeting, had a fairly heated discussion. And I was in the wrong, and I realized that I had such a narrow way of thinking that I didn't really realize big picture things and all that, and so at that point I thought about transferring, because I thought maybe that'll solve my problems instead of really putting in the work. I thought maybe I'll go to school that might want me and give me the opportunities, and then actually it was Slags that I had a really good conversation with. He's like, we don't want you to go. We want you here. We want you to be a part of this team. We want you to be a part of this program and all this stuff. You just got to put in the work. And okay, that clicked a little bit. We had a really good conversation. And then I had a conversation with my older brother, who was always like physical specimen, jacked, way stronger than he should have been at all ages. Loved working out. He worked extremely hard. And I had a conversation with him, and he also put it into perspective. Like, yeah, you got to work hard. Like, this isn't, you're not 12 anymore. You can't just go on the ice and then go have Wendy's on the way home from practice. So it was a thing that I just like, okay, you got to work hard. And I give my brother a lot of credit, and I owe him a lot, because that summer, like, we worked out hard. That was the first real summer where I was grinding, and I worked out really hard, and then I lost like 5% body fat. I came in way leaner, way stronger, way faster, and from then on, it was okay. Now I just got to work for it. I obviously wasn't given opportunities at the beginning of my junior year because I hadn't earned them my sophomore year. And then slowly that year I earned them a couple months in, and then all of a sudden I was playing a ton, power play, penalty kill, first line, all these things, and things just started to click because of work ethic and mindset. I think moving forward, I've always now had that mindset of, doesn't matter where I'm at, like, there's going to be people fighting. You got to keep working hard, and I think that's only helped me kind of grow from college to the pro to fourth liner to third, and then kind of trying to move up the scale as much as I can.
Yeah, I think that's important for a lot of kids to understand, like, especially like when you start getting to more competitive high level hockey, everybody is like, the skill that you had when you were coming out of school is probably similar to a lot of the skill that other people had. It's just who's willing to work for it, and then who's also like, when I played with you in Pittsburgh, like you didn't. I mean, I didn't either, but you didn't touch the power play. Like even years after that, you didn't touch the power play. You're kind of just recently getting to that role, and you still were able to put up points. You still were able to chip in huge, even strength, PK, things like that. So it's a matter of like finding those little ways to the game to help your team win. And it's hard because it's easy. Like, I don't want to say it's easy to go out on the PP and feel confident. You feel like you're going to score. It's so nice to do that, but not many guys get that opportunity. So if you don't get that opportunity, you can't be like, you can't let that affect your games. And I think a lot of guys do that. So I think that's a huge message.
Yeah, like
Ty,
even
anything?
No, I just want to touch on that because I think there's like a weird little parallel because you touched on how, you know, that first year was almost a little bit of entitlement, and then that sophomore slump, and then kind of just like, you know, being knocked down. But then even like that junior year, and then like coming to Pittsburgh and like maybe not getting the opportunities and stuff, just being a young guy. Obviously, it is completely aligned with just like that work ethic, probably in practice, probably, you know, off ice, just like everything. But like mentally, like what was it for you that like kept you on that path of like, okay, like if I just keep working, like, is it just like constantly reminding yourself of that conversation with your brother? Like, was there little things that you just like wanted to do for yourself to keep your mind right? Was there anything any practices or anything like that?
I wouldn't say as much. I think it was knowing that it worked.
Yeah.
Having a little bit of success with it, knowing that it worked when I was a junior in college. It worked. Working hard, having the right mindset, taking it day by day, it worked. And there'd be plenty of times where I'd have an up and down kind of roller coaster month or season or kind of for whatever it is, on the ice stuff, off the ice stuff. And it's just, I constantly remind myself of, okay, it's a daily endeavor. You got to work at it daily, but it does work. If you give it an honest effort and you do it right, it works. It may not work as well as you want, or it may not work a ton, but you're going to move the needle and you're going to head in the right direction if you do that. And over time, those things accumulate. And it's not just a one-day thing. It's not just a off-chance thing. It's a consistent thing. And I think the more consistency you bring to it, in my mind, was, okay, I brought consistency. Maybe that's going to work. And I think over time, I've been very fortunate enough that it has panned out for me fairly well.
How much do you credit joining the Penguins organization to kind of like help fuel that mindset too? Because when you get into that locker room, I mean, one guy in particular sticks out. I think we all know like Sid's work ethic and the energy that he brings every day. Like when you get there, like how much does that help you continue that mindset, if you know what I mean? 100%.
You see best player in the world, arguably at the time. Now he's still one of the best players in the world. You see him doing these things, and you see him bringing it every day. You see him, again, trying to just get a little bit better every day, trying to make things a little bit better. Always trying to work on things, always trying to add things to his game, always thinking that there's more, even though he was the top. He was the top of the top. And there is always more. And to see him do that, you're like, well, I'm some call-up 22-year-old schmug. Why am I not doing this when this guy's doing this?
The 22-year-old schmug.
Yeah.
I like that.
But even, and then go ahead, Ty. Sorry.
No. I'm just I'm just gonna full Penguins fan it out right now. Like I'm just like a full, like ever since, you know, that first Winter Classic, like I still got like Sid's, you know, baby blue jersey. I remember him winning in a shootout, whatever. Like, do you gravitate to those players? Like as soon as you kind of get there, is it a case of you're not watching their every move, but like, you know, this is the pros. And like, I think a lot of people would agree that Sid is just like the perfect example of just a pro. Like, I think just like everything he does and like all the shit he does, like behind the scenes that nobody hears about. I mean, he is just like that perfect example of like what it means to be a pro. And obviously Gino and Tanger and all those other guys as well. But for you, was it a case of, okay, I need to put my head down and just gravitate to these guys and just try and absorb every ounce of information that I can get out of them?
Yeah, I think 100%. But for definitely 100% watching him. But I want to give a lot of credit to guys like Matt Cullen and Chris Kunitz, who weren't the superstars, who were doing the same things.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody says Sid, and they say Sid for right reasons, because he is kind of the upper echelon of making that happen and doing things the right way and being the ultimate professional. But then you can have guys who are kind of more average players can come in and look at it and be like, "Oh, of course he can do this. Everything's going his way. Everything's going right." And then, but also in the locker room is a guy like Chris Kunitz, a guy like Matt Cullen. Matt Cullen's a career bottom six guy who played 20 years and did everything right as well. Treated his body right, prepared right, nutritionally, off the ice, has an unbelievable family, treats everybody so fantastic. Same thing with Chris Kunitz. And you see these guys who were, obviously, Kunitz had a lot of really good years too, but you see these guys who had a little bit more of average careers and not just superstar players, and they're doing the same things, and they're making these unbelievable careers and these unbelievable legacies as not only great players, but great people as well. And I think that also goes a long way. And having all those guys in the Penguins locker room, I think, speaks to why we won. There were so many guys like that, and it was really helpful. And I think it helped my career significantly, just being around those guys and kind of learning how not only to be a hockey player, but how to treat other people and how to be a pro and how to be away from the rink. And then as I obviously got married and had kids, how to have your family in a situation like this.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Cully, like how insane is 1,500 plus games, right? He broke 1,500 and then some change. As a third and fourth liner, maybe early in his career, he was, I don't know, because that's a long time. That's
long before our time, so I wasn't sure either. That's why I just said bottom six to be safe.
But like that's in like 1,500 games. I mean, is unbelievable in any role. But 1,500 games in a third and fourth line to stay in the league. I mean, it's a little different now because I think guys are more cycled through. Younger guys are getting a little more opportunity, but to stay in the league and to stay relevant and to stay like that is insane. 1,500 games.
It's 100% insane. And that many games, knowing you got to go out on the PK and go block a shot, and you got to go grind in the corners for however many minutes, and instead of the nice power play minutes and scoring goals and getting offensive zone faceoffs, it's very impressive.
That's amazing. He should have a little shrine in the Hall of Fame, I think.
With his taped up skates.
Yeah, and his espresso cups. I didn't play with him for that much, but the amount of caffeine he consumed before a game was insane to me.
We were in the playoffs. I forget where we were, and we had the coffee crew. It was me, Dumo, and him. We'd go for coffee before games, and I'd get like an iced coffee or whatever. Dumo would get something similar. Cully would get a red eye, which is whatever, coffee with a shot of espresso, with a triple shot next to it. He put the triple on top of the red eye. It's playoffs.
That's insane.
The late 30s, and he just slugs all his caffeine. He's out there ready to go. Plays great. I think 2017, and
his heart's just going.
His heart's just through the roof and just buzzing around. You can see him looking. But hey, give him credit, man. The guy's a stud. So
yeah, well, that's unreal. Kind of bringing it back to what you were saying about like the leadership roles and how you've learned from those guys. Now you're in a point in your career where you're almost at 500, kind of like mid 400, right? Which is a lot of games. And you've been part of the 2 cups and you're relied on now in almost every situation for the team. Like now I feel like you can't really look at the guys like Sid as being like, oh, this God figure, because you're starting to be in the same conversation, being relied on in almost a certain type of way that they are too. Like, does that leadership role come naturally, or do you have to work on it where you're learning about it I mean, you obviously said that you take how these other guys were that were in those leadership roles too, but do you do any stuff like that? Do you read about things like that, or do you try to maybe open up conversation with guys like Sid or anyone to sort of learn a little better, or is it just kind of a natural sort of development?
I think there'll be times over the course of the year, we sit next to each other on the bus, and after tough games or tough stretches or whatever it might be, we'll have conversations, and there's a group of like 5 or 6 guys kind of towards the back of the bus, kind of all older guys who kind of have those conversations. Okay, how are we going to get out of this? How are we going to get everyone going? How are we going to do all this? Which is kind of, it definitely lends to learning a lot for myself about kind of proper ways to lead in certain situations, or how best I can do it, whether it's through actions or just through trying to get the team fired up and all this stuff. And then I try to learn also through my own personal actions. Like there's times through the year where I'm coming back to the bench and I'm all pissed off. Things aren't going my way, and I'm kind of motherfucking guys under my breath. And then I look back and I'm like, what am I doing? Like everyone's like, it's a game. Like everyone's going to make mistakes in this game. It's like everyone's trying to do the right thing, but like I let my emotions get the best of me kind of in certain situations. And I try to look back on things like, okay, just stay as level-headed as you possibly can. And through my experiences, I've learned, okay, certain guys need certain things. Like, and then over the course of the year, I'll pay attention to how guys react. Like some of our younger guys, or guys who are older, or guys who get down on themselves, or guys who kind of get lost and say, okay, well, things aren't going my way. And then they kind of like check out. And I try to learn about the rest of the guys on my team through when things aren't going great for them or for the team, and I try to tend to them. Like if a guy's one of those checked out guys, I'm like, okay, let's go. Like I try and constantly be talking to him, get him going. Okay, it's a great play here, great play there. It's a guy who gets down on himself. I'm like, man, I've been there. It's good. Just keep going. Things are going to get going. Things are going to get going. If you keep doing the right things, like you're going to score. You're going to create offense. And the more I try and learn about how my teammates react in negative situations, the more I can help them get back to a positive mindset kind of moving forward.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is like such a quality like leadership skill, is like being able to like identify, you know, how individuals are going to react to certain situations. And I think like that kind of goes with what you were just saying, you know, like other guys will react differently than, you know, a certain individual. So like, I think, you know, being so singular focused on like reacting a certain way and like, you know, trying to help in a certain way. I don't know if it's diminishing or what, but I like the fact that, you know, it's important to have a certain sense of like open compassion, you know, like being able to like identify and recognize, you know, what's going to work for this guy and like, how can I get this guy over this like certain slump? And like, does that even kind of go to, I mean, you come into the league and pretty quickly you win 2 Stanley Cups. Like, I think that's, you know, pretty amazing and a lot of fun and pretty special. But, you know, what did you take away from those 2 cup runs, like both physically on the body, both mentally, emotionally? Like, I mean, I think being able to, you know, recognize those emotional roller coasters that teams can be on and being able to stay even keeled was probably a big thing for those 2 rosters. But, you know, was there a couple certain takeaways where you were like, this is something I will always apply to, you know, not only the game, but just like life in general?
Yeah, I think kind of psychologically and mentally, what I had alluded to earlier is just taking it day by day.
Yeah.
Because there's times during playoff run where the whole media and they're like, oh, you're going to win. It's easy. It's over. You guys won. You might as well just lift the cup now. It's like the first round game 2. And then you lose like a 2-1 overtime game. They're like, you're done. You're finished. It's over. They're not going to do anything. And it's just, there's so many highs and lows, and obviously the media's got to write about what they got to write about, and they got to have stories, and then they got to make it interesting. But the ability to stay day by day and trust the process and trust, like, okay, take it every day. Don't worry about anything on the outside. You got 20, however many guys, plus coaches, plus staff, and all that stuff who are in there, and you're going to war together, and you're doing it together. Why? There's no reason to kind of listen to people who don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what's going on in the room. They don't really know what's going on the ice. Obviously, they watch the game, but do they really understand it? Most of them know. Some of them, yes. But
you guys had a couple big losses too in those playoff runs too, if I remember right. Like there's a couple like towards the end, like I don't know, Nashville, Ottawa, like 7-1 or 5-1, where it's like like the immediate, like that's just immediate, like person's dream to just jump on it and be like, oh yeah, just they're done. Yeah,
exactly. And then so it's just kind of it's something that I've tried to apply. Just take everything as it comes. Take everything day by day. Don't kind of worry about it. Obviously, physically, it's a grind, and you gotta know how to take care of yourself. But I think your physical well being is going to go down the drain if you're constantly worried or you're mentally all over the place. So I think the more you take care of your mind, then I think your body will take care of itself too.
Yeah. How was it after? I always wonder this. I mean, this is not the same, but I remember like my first year we won the Calder Cup, the AHL version, and I felt like, I mean, I was young, so all I cared about was just like the party, and then afterwards I had no like understanding of kind of like the decompressing part, and like it just stops. All of a sudden you're like playing, and obviously in the NHL it's like way up here, and it just stops. You win, but now it's like you got to get back to normal life. You got to get back to routine. Soon you got to get back to working out, and then it's all gonna happen again. Like, what was that like? I mean, you obviously had the 2 times. What was that like? Maybe a week or 2 weeks after you won, getting back to real life. Like, how was that process?
It's pretty much kind of exactly what you say. Like the first 4 or 5 days is parades and pictures and parties and all this thing, and all of a sudden it's gone. Everyone's going home. Everyone's back to their life, and you're back to working out 2 weeks later, and it's like, okay, well, do it again. Go for it. Let's try and do it again. Let's get back in the gym. Let's get back on the ice. Let's try and do it again.
You're walking into the gym with a cane, like
yeah. But the first year we won, I had hernia surgery, and I had a broken finger. I'm like, what am I supposed to do in the gym? I'm going to go sit in there. So yeah, it took me a while to recover from that. But there's obviously injuries after every season. But it's just like, boom, do it again. Do it again. Here's your time to celebrate. Unbelievable accomplishment. Obviously, it goes kind of through the summer with your cup days and things like that. But then it's such a quick turnaround. It's okay. Do it again. Next team, next season. What can we do to do it again? Do it easier. How can we get there again? And it's almost there isn't much time to. You can't decompress. You can't really relax because it's just like, okay, well now everyone's coming for you. You got to do it again.
Yeah, it's crazy. What one quick question? Like when you look at your cup celebrations and physically having it in front of you and stuff, like what sticks out to you from a visualization standpoint, or like when you picture it, like in terms of who you got to share it with, or like a certain moment, like whatever it may be, like is there anything that comes to your mind right away?
First getting it, like you're on the ice and somebody first hands it to you, and again my finger was broken, so in my head I'm thinking, don't drop it, first of all. Don't be an idiot, and then just like you throw it over your head, and it's literally the coolest thing in the world. And it's just like that moment we were in San Jose, and I'm just like, I will never forget that moment, because it's like this is what you live for. This is why we do what we do. This is why we played since we were 3, 4, 5 years old, and done it in your backyard in your driveway 400 times, and then the ability to say you've done it, and then you get your chance to do it is unbelievable. But then like 30 seconds later, you get passed up to somebody else, and then it's like 20 some odd years of working. And I mean, obviously, it's not too many people get to do it, but it's like it's such a you try and take it all in, and it happened to me so early in my career that I don't think I fully appreciated it, and that to me stinks. I mean, not the whole thing's unbelievable. Don't get me wrong. But like the fact that I wasn't able to fully appreciate it, because now 5 years of first round exits or however many we've had in a row, and it's like, okay, this is tough. Like you got to have the right group of guys, you got to have the right mix, you got to have the right team, you got to get lucky, you got to get big plays. Like there's so many things that go into it that now I'm fully realizing that as I've had there's been struggles and there's been downfalls, and it's like, okay, well, I definitely want to get there again. And if I do, like, that's going to be appreciated about probably 20 times more.
Yeah.
And it's kind of unique though. Like I remember we even chatted with a guy who played in the NFL, like, full 8 or 9, 10-year career. And then he was saying in like his final year when like he knew he was going to retire, he was like, well, shit, like now I can actually like embrace this, whether he was winning a championship or not, like he was actually able to like embrace the fact that I'm an NFL player. Like I get to live this journey. And like for you, like, you reached the peak twice, like early on. And now, like you said, it's been, ups and downs. But is it almost like a case of, okay, now I've been through that process and I understand that journey. And as much as, it's all about winning a championship, but do you have a kind of a different outlook on being able to like actually embrace like the process now and like the journey just a little bit more?
100%, especially, and now that I've gotten older and I'm on the other side of 30, it's like you gotta embrace it all. There's gonna be grinds. There's gonna be days where you're not feeling it. There's gonna be days where you're feeling awesome and everything's going your way. And I think the ability to embrace the good with the bad and just kind of take it day by day, or like last night getting in at 2 a.m. on the road, a couple hour time change, and it's just embrace the little things, because like. It doesn't last forever, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, doesn't matter what you're involved in. Like, yeah, sometimes it sucks. Sometimes you hate going to the rink, you hate practicing, you hate doing whatever. But at the end of the day, like, this is awesome. Like, it doesn't get much better than this. And it's like, people are going working at their desk, or they're going to do whatever, and we're playing hockey, playing a game for a living. And I think the ability to, for me, the last couple of years, it's just take everything in, soak everything in, the good, the bad, the ugly. Don't try and waste days. Don't try and waste moments. Doom and gloom. If I have a brutal game, still going home. I got 2 wild dogs who are going to cheer me up. I got a son who's an absolute wild man. And I got an awesome wife, and they're going to cheer me up, and it's going to be fine. The sun's going to come up the next day. We're gonna move on. And you always try and learn from experiences, but it is what it is. Take it day by day. Always learn from everything. Try and get better. Obviously, try and win. Try and do the best you can. But there's no reason to get caught negatively on things.
Yeah, when you look at like the 8 billion people or whatever that are on this world, and just where we are, like hockey is like this big. Yeah, and I'm the same way. Like I went through a phase, and I still kind of go through these moments where I just think like everybody's watching me and I have to do everything right. And if I don't, then I'm not going to be able to enjoy it. And it's just like, it's so much more serious than when you actually take a step back and look at it. Like it's literally like we're ants in this whole thing. This is a question I want to start asking more guys. And you've probably touched on it a bit. Like when you dreamt of playing in the NHL as a little kid, wherever that dream started from, and you had a visualization, you pictured yourself probably playing for the Wings, playing road hockey, whatever it was. How has that visualization matched up to like what is real now as a 31-year-old? Like, is like from a positive standpoint, from a negative standpoint, like how accurate was your picture?
The accurate of the good times was fairly accurate. Like I thought it was all sunshine and rainbows, and things are going to be great. They're going to score goals in the NHL, and the crowd's going to go wild, and it's going to be awesome. No way can you, as a kid or like growing up, can you really take into account the grind of it all. It does take a mental toll on you, and there's a lot of stress that comes along with it, and there's a lot of go through a slump, go through a tough down, you get demoted, you get chewed apart in video, anything happens, and all those negative things that can happen, or constructive criticism, or whatever you want to call it, something not positive, and you don't dream of those things, but obviously they're a reality, and as you get older, you realize they're very much a reality, and those are probably the times that are gonna mold you the most than the good times.
Yeah. You don't dream of sneezing in bed at 30 years old and pulling a neck muscle and not being able to turn your head. You don't ever think of those things at 8 years old.
No, I don't imagine when I was in Florida a couple years ago, I reached for a hot pack. Just something, I got a sore back this morning. Reached for a hot pack. Complete back, seize up, crumble to the floor. And I was like, oh my God, this is the worst. This is the worst pain of my life. I couldn't even sit in the meeting. I had to lay on the floor in the meeting because I couldn't stand up. The coach was like, you don't need to watch this. This is just a game review. Like, it's gonna be okay. You can get treatment. And of course, I'm trying to be tough. Oh, I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I can't even breathe. But yeah, like you said, nobody tells you that. You get old and your body starts to stop doing things you thought it could do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a conversation yesterday with a friend, how this last little bit, I feel like everybody's going to interpret things as like before and after COVID. For you guys, I mean, you win 2 cups and then, next season, and then all of a sudden, like, things just like kind of stop. I'm sure it was kind of interesting because I think a lot of you guys that just went on these 2, crazy cup runs probably appreciated a little bit of a break, but like for you, especially on like the mental side, like how was that? Was that a case of, okay, like I can now, as much as, I still want to play the game and I miss the game, I can now think about the fact that I want to be proactive outside of the game as well. And I sent 2 texts to Mel Armstrong and Amanda, and I got like 5 or 6 messages back from each of them about you and your wife and like how much you guys like just do. And it's not a case of, you need something from it or whatever. Like it's just a case of you guys just want to do it. Does that stem from your time in COVID and kind of being able to like decompress and be like, okay, what can we do? Like how can we make an impact? Yeah.
I think for us, we've always had that thought process. I think during that time, we probably did think about it more because there wasn't much to do or think about at the time. So I think we did. Obviously, Riley had come to me to do Seats for Strength the very first time I had done it, and I was like, sure, I have to do this. Like, no questions asked. I'm getting involved with this. This is something that you see all these guys around the league getting involved and doing important things. And to be honest, that's where I first really realized that how appreciative people are of what you do for them, and just being able to recognize them and get involved with something that is so near and dear to them, but also yourself. And after that happened, my wife and I, we've constantly been trying to get in touch with whatever foundation, do as much as we can to just help where we can. And it's not about giving a boatload of money or anything. It's especially about giving your time, showing people that you're there to listen and to care, and show that they're not alone. They're not going to be in this fight by themselves. There's people who can be considered, important people or people of interest who care about the same things they do and who care about their well-being. And I think that aspect of that thought process has driven her and I to really try and get involved
more. I think like when we did the work, I think the most important question that I wanted for you when we were talking right now is like your focus this year on Seats for Strength. Because in the past, like when we started, it was kind of more based with kids with like a little bit of a mental health history or maybe had some struggles at home. I think it's important, like you said, for kids to see someone with a platform or someone of some status, just to know like that highlight in their life is going to click in their brain and they're going to remember, like, and maybe just give them some fuel to push forward. But I think what you're doing, Seats for Strength now, is like hits close with you, and maybe just explain kind of why, and then your your development as a child with a speech impediment and how you kind of have overcome it and dealt with it, and maybe some of the where confidence was low, now confidence is high, and just being able to deal with it. I think that was the biggest highlight for me to see. Like, I don't really follow much hockey highlights and things like that, but when you posted that you were doing it for kids with speech impediments, I thought was just unbelievable and kind of a testament to your character. So maybe just how that decision came to empower kids and to focus on kids with those problems, and maybe how it relates to your upbringing.
Yeah. So the Seats for Strength now is there's a organization called Friends Who Stutter, and they've reached out to me a couple times, and I wasn't sure what to make of it at the time, and I had some conversations with Kelsey about it, and I was like, and then I started to do a little bit of research, and they've done some awesome things, and they've done a lot of great for a lot of people. So I was like, okay, this is something that means a lot to me. This is something that I grew up with. Let's get involved with that. Let's bring some kids in, or some people in who've been dealing with similar problems that I dealt with growing up, and much more severely, and things like that. And I think my thought process was, there's not too many people who take speech issues and stuff all that seriously. So it's something that might be overlooked in terms of other things. I don't know, obviously everything, there's so many things, but it's something that I feel like got overlooked a lot. And as someone who struggled with it my whole life, it was something that I was like, I need to do this. I've been thinking about doing it for 8 years, ever since I've been a pro. This is something that I want to do. Let's get involved. I don't care how big this organization is. It's not the biggest organization, but I'm going to get involved. I'm going to see what I can do to help some people, some kids who were in a similar boat to me. And after every home game, I meet with the family or the kids who come in, and talk with them a little bit, kind of hear their story and how things are going. And honestly, this has been the year that's meant the most to me so far, because I hear the kids talking about things. I hear the parents talking about things. I'm like, that was me. That was me when I was 8, 10, 12, and things like that. And I personally can't remember anybody growing up who had the same issues that I do, or who was outwardly spoken about it. And I think, okay, if I did, that would have been awesome. That person would have been on my wall. That person would have been everywhere. Mm-hmm. And talking to these kids and seeing how excited they are, and seeing how appreciative the parents are, it's literally the coolest thing in the world, because it's something that, like, that right there means the most. It's not giving money to these charities and watching them do whatever they do. It's talking to these kids and saying, hey, like, it's going to be fine. People might make fun of you now, but they don't know what they're talking about. Like, it makes you you. Don't fight it. Don't, obviously, try and get better, and try and work at it and all this stuff, but don't let that deter you from being you. And, like, parents have cried, kids have cried. Like, it's literally the coolest thing in the world. And just to know that I can help in a way that I didn't think was that big of a way. It was just, hey, come to a hockey game, come say hi for 5-10 minutes, but they're so appreciative, and it makes me proud. It does, to get involved and to help, just be able to see them take whatever I say and, like, okay, yeah, I can do this. This is me. Like, this makes me unique. This is who I am. And I think it's been really cool.
Yeah.
I think it's
awesome.
Just like that. Yeah. I mean, I completely align with the whole, it's just like that pure relatability that people just, like, sometimes maybe don't have. And to hear it from, a person, who is playing professional hockey, plays in front of thousands of people every night, and to just, like, to make that, like, genuine connection in, like, a short amount of time. I mean, at least from what I've learned, is one of the most powerful things in the entire world. And I think once again, it's just a complete testament to your character, and, like, being able to, embrace the fact that, even after a tough loss, I mean, you have the opportunity to go essentially change a kid's life and change a kid's perspective on things. And I think, having that pure authenticity it's weird. It's tough at times because, I remember a lot of like distinct conversations after, a mental health talk that I do that is like, it's hard to hear. It's very sad to hear. It's exhausting to hear sometimes. But at the end of the day, like this conversation, this connection is what it's all about. And like, this is like the impact that you want to continue to leave. I don't even really like have a set question, because I honestly just pumping your tires. But like, what is like that thing that just like keeps bringing you back? Like, because I mean, you've done work with Hockey Talks, you've done work with Mind Hacks, you've done work with the foundation. I mean, Amanda and Mel were saying that anytime they need anything from you or Kelsey, I mean, you're instantly there and jumping at the bit. I mean, is there something that is just like, no matter what, or no matter how I'm feeling, I need to do this for, this family and this child, but also for me? I think that's the thing that is like the best part, is as much as it's hopefully healing and therapeutic for the person on the other side, I think, it is very therapeutic for yourself as well. So my ultimate question is like, what is that main like message or thing that just like keeps bringing you back?
For me, I've been very fortunate to be put in a position where I have a voice that people listen to, or I have like Riley said, a platform that can be influential. And obviously there's a whole bunch of negativity going around everywhere these days, that when I hear about opportunities to try and change negativity to positivity or anything like that, I'm only at the rink a few hours a day. I can spare an hour or two. I can spare whatever time. I can spare 15 to 20-minute phone call. I can spare some time. I can take time out of my day. It's really not that busy. And I can give back. I can try and help people in whatever way they need it. Because I know, for me, like, I would appreciate it. Like, I think everybody appreciates a little bit of help. Sometimes people don't ask for it. Sometimes people are too proud to admit it. But I think it goes a long way to just do what you can. And I think if there's opportunities, and like you said, the foundation reaches out all the time, and my wife and I, we try and get involved in things. And for me, it's coming from a place where I'm very grateful for where I am and the amazing things that have happened in my life. I'm very grateful for all that, and I've been very fortunate. And a lot of people haven't been that fortunate, whether it's a tragic accident, or it's a certain situation, or it's being born a certain way, or having mental stuff, or like the speech impediment, something that's not positive in their life. I think my position of things have gone well for me, but I've dealt with I've had things. I've had some mental breakdowns. I've dealt with the speech stuff, and it's not all sunshine and roses for everybody, even some people who may outwardly look like it. So the more I can try and explain that to people where things aren't going well, I think it puts it in a perspective of that to them, that even people who you think things go great for, it's not going great all the time, and everybody's got their stuff, and you just got to work through it. You got to work hard, and you got to get through it, and you got to piece it together, and you got to just keep moving forward. And I think that's just kind of tries to be my message as I talk to people, as I work with people, work with organizations, and things like that.
Yeah, it's all relatability. Like, just when you're relatable, it makes people way more at ease.
Yeah.
When people think like you're some sort of God figure, then they just it's like what Instagram is. You post your Instagram, you see your page, and it's like, wow, this person's doing some things that like I would dream to do, but realistically, that's not how it is. It's just pictures of the highlights of their life, right?
It's so true. This, you can see, like, Riley, I know you can probably appreciate this. You can see, I know I see Keisha stuff, like family stuff. Like, you can see pictures on social media. These people have perfect family, No, they don't. They were probably up at 2 a.m. Some kid threw up somewhere, and they're cleaning up this, cleaning up that. The kid's having a meltdown, and things are everywhere. You can't figure out what time to be where. You missed an appointment, all these things, and it's not shown on social media. And I think that gets into people's heads so much that it's tough to dig out of that hole of, well, my life should be that perfect. No, their life's not perfect. They're showing you that this is a perfect moment, but it's far from it.
Yeah, for sure. Frick, more guys need to have your mindset there with the amount of time you have in a day. It's okay at a young age. It's okay at a young age when you're just getting in and you have your 4 or 5 years of kind of considered being a young guy where you like to sleep a lot and play video games and things like that. But as you get older, it's you don't have that excuse anymore. You have time to do things that are important. Even when you have kids, you do have a little bit of time here and there, and that's good. I'm glad you said that, because some guys just it's all hockey, and then every moment of spare time is not doing very positive things. So
yeah, which I think the more you can stay busy away from it, the more you're gonna not dwell on it. You're not gonna be in your head for so long. I think that's helped me recently too. At the beginning of my career, I went through long, dark slumps, and it was brutal. And now, the busier I am away from the rink now, and the more stuff I got going on, the better it is for me to just kind of clear my head. And when I'm at the rink, I'm dialed in, focused 100%. But when I'm not at the rink, I'm not at the rink.
How often are you stealing Hunter's toys and building a Lego set or building a tower out of blocks or something?
He's he's got a little playroom, and he'll be reading a book, and I'm in there playing with stuff,
just taking shots with the mini sticks.
Oh, he's huge into the mini sticks now. It's awesome. The last probably 3-4 weeks, he's gotten big into the mini sticks, and my brother-in-law got him a little one of those half rink mini stick things with the net in it, and he literally lives for it now. It's the coolest thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And for you, you talked, obviously you got your son, your 2 dogs to keep you busy. But what works for you? What is something that maybe the average person wouldn't know about Bryan Rust that you enjoy doing? What is something that you can just whether it's in the summertime, whether it's on, off days, whatever it is, what do you, whether it's for your mental state, whether it's, to just keep you grounded, to decompress, is there something that you just personally enjoy doing to help stay proactive about keeping your mind right, outside of the rink?
I think for me recently, now that I do have a son and another one on the way, is I genuinely try and just submerge myself in every moment with my son and my family, and just totally get involved. Just be playing with him, not try and be elsewhere, but stay mentally in the moment, watch him learn, help him learn, be engaged in what he's doing and all this stuff, and take him to try and see new things, do new experiences, things like that. But I think I've tried to get really involved in parenting, and I think that's helped keep me into perspective, because I want him to learn from me. I want my kids to learn from me. I want them to learn the right things from me. And if I'm not doing the right things, if I have bad attitude, or if I'm doing whatever, I want my kids one day to look back and see articles about me helping out, or about all these things. And not just that, but the day-to-day things. Learn how to be a good father, a good husband, a good friend, just a good person. I think I've thought about that a lot, and I think that's been my main away from the rink thing. Is I'm doing it for him. I'm doing this for my family, and I want to be there for them, and I want to be the best version of myself.
I think
give as much of myself to them.
You hit the nail on the head there too. With you have your kid look back at reads articles and things like that. It's cool. Probably for a good portion of their life, it's cool to read about Bryan Rust scores big goal, whatever, Stanley Cup, all this stuff. But the amount of power it has about reading an article about how you helped kids that were struggling in their home situations or their whatever time in their lives, or their speech impediment, or doing these things like that are actually showing how good of a person you are, I think is awesome. Because when you look back at it, like goals and everything, kind of, it's really cool. But like, what does that tell? It doesn't tell you about the person. It doesn't, you know what I mean? So, I mean, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I don't have much else. Ty, what do you got anything else?
I got one final one. This is not a loaded question, but it's, it could be a tough, I guess, question to answer. You've talked, you've done a lot of things for just good, and you said, I think Riles talks about it a little bit, and like not being able to like separate, home from the rink, and being able to, just have that like self accountability to make sure that, you're coming home and not bringing whatever it is, you're leaving that behind. I think like as a whole, we've seen a lot in the NHL realm, I guess, lately with, Carey Price and Jonathan Drouin. I mean, those are two guys that constantly kind of get brought up because they were very vocal about their situations and, mental health. And, I mean, do you have any hopes? I think, Hockey Talks is a big thing. I think that is something that is helping kind of break that stigma and, helping getting or generating those conversations. But whether it's with yourself or just like league wide, is there hopes that you have, whether it is related to mental health, whether it is related to, emotional health, whether it is related to disabilities, like, is there something that you just hope to continue to see?
Good question.
Like I said, it is kind of a loaded, and I mean, there's no right answer, but I think it's like, it just goes to show that you, as much as you're not, just all flamboyant and stuff on your Instagram about what you're doing, I think, people do know that Bryan Rust is doing these things. I think that is like a big thing. But yeah, like back to that, is there hopes that you have for other players or just like the league in general?
My kind of hopes are that more people get involved with this and more people have conversations. Like Jake Gensel does something after games for, I'm not exactly sure what the organization is or what the situation these kids or families are involved in, but he does something and I do something. But I'd love if there was like 10, 12 groups of people and everyone's got their thing. Like everyone's got their 3-4 people that they spend 5-10 minutes talking to. And I think that would just, you try and hit so many different groups. And I think not just that, but then given phone calls and stuff, like I know the friends who, or even going to stuff, Friends Who Stutter has a convention in Chicago in June, and based on weddings and stuff and the new baby, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it, but I'm going to try and make it for a day. Yeah. And it's something that's like, you got plenty of time in the off season. I know there's guys that have weddings and stuff and they get busy and they want to have downtime and stuff, but spend a day or two, do something. And I think the more guys can try and get on board with that, in the grand scheme of things, 1 day or two isn't as daunting as you'd think. And I think the more people do the little things, like everyone does their 2-3 little things, I think it'll add up quite a bit. And these are things obviously I didn't know coming into the league. Everything I've talked about today were things that were completely out of my head coming into the league. And like Riley said, I was a young kid. All I wanted to do was focus on hockey, get home from the rink, sleep, play video games, think about that.
You're a hell of a COD player, though.
Oh, I miss it. But these are things that I've learned. I've learned along the way that I've been grateful to learn, and I don't think they can pass some people by, and they can not learn it. But I think I've tried to take it all in and do what I can.
Yeah, selfishly too. Like you feel it's daunting sometimes going into these types of like events. And Ty, you can probably attest to like public speaking, and sometimes you're like a little nervous, and like you have to have so many conversations, and you always feel like people are kind of grabbing at you. But like once you get out of the event and you look back at what you did, and you look at some of those conversations and how you help certain people, and like the look in kids' eyes when they look at like those things totally outweigh the nerves you feel before you go into some of these situations. And I think that's good for a lot of guys to understand, is like, you're helping so many people, but you're helping yourself a lot too. You're helping yourself grow by doing these things that are a little bit out of your comfort zone. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, you almost feel guilty. Like it's interesting because you almost feel guilty because like you go home and you're like, wow, you know, like as much as it's hard to come to terms with that, you know, you are the reason that an impact is made. But like, I think being able to, you know, Rusty, you said it earlier, but like, you're damn proud of yourself for doing this. And I think that like, you should be like that. It's amazing to think that, you know, those small like moments in a day, those 10, 15 minutes afterwards. I mean, that is something that truly can change a trajectory and change a perspective and help, you know, put some things into fruition for these individuals. And, yeah, I mean, I don't have much else. I wanted to, touch on Settlers of Catan. I think you're a big fan of that, so I respect.
Very, very avid player. Yes.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm in Pittsburgh for a couple days and the next week, so let's you know, see if we can get a game in. But no, Riles, I don't know if you had anything else, but we'll keep you on for a couple minutes after.
How's the two-touch game? Are you still brutal?
I mean, my game has grown so much; it's unbelievable how good I am.
Oh God! Do you still play pre-meeting?
Oh yeah, not nearly as long as I used to because I've got a few more minutes these days. But I still play pre-meeting. I still get there obnoxiously early and play too much soccer.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's
Ty. We would play like meeting was normally around what time, Rusty? Like
5:30 for
5:30. So we would get there and we would play soccer post meeting, walk into the meeting like just drenched in sweat. The game's still like an hour and 15 minutes away or more, but some of them were heated. Some of them were heated battles.
When I was like my first 2 years in the league, me and Tom Kunak, we'd be the only two players that played before the meeting. And we were only playing like 7 minutes a night. We'd play soccer for 45 minutes, just us two. Just sprinting around, just diving in the walls, all this stuff, just be exhausted by the time the actual game came out. But it didn't matter. We were only playing 7 minutes. All we needed to do was to go forecheck.
Yeah, it gets you into the game too, for sure. I believe that.
I honestly think it helped me a ton when I wasn't getting a ton of minutes, was to just basically bag myself before the game. So I'm all right. I'm already in it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Rusty, that was awesome. I mean, like we said, all the stuff you're doing is amazing. And I mean, aside from hockey, we know like your skill and everything on the ice is awesome, but we love what you're doing away from the rink. And I know Keisha and I, we miss you guys, and hopefully we get to see you. If you're in Chicago for that event, maybe we meet up or something. But yeah, I mean, keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully you guys get out of the little skid you're on the road trip.
Funk, yeah.
You enjoy your night tonight. Sometimes that's how it works, right? You get a good team night, and then things change. So,
how's everything going over there?
It's good. It's such a life change. Like things are so much different and whatnot. But it's good, man. It's beautiful out here. The culture, lifestyle is so laid back, and we're learning. Kind of forced into just like an uncomfortable lifestyle without knowing the language and having a little kid here and things like that. So
now where you guys are, is it French?
It's both. It's French, German. So that's the tough part. Like you don't have one concrete language to try to learn. Like I could try to learn, like I know French decently well because of being Canadian, and then I took it at Notre Dame. I was that was really good course here. So we can't just rely on, if you go up to someone and say bonjour, quite possibly they could be speaking German. So it's like it's hard to know, but it's all good. We're liking it. But
how's Slater doing? What's he up to these days?
He just came down the stairs before we came on. He just, have you seen Sing yet? Sing 2. So it's like a musical of,
oh,
there he is. If you could,
there he is. Nice.
Do you want to bring him over?
Sure.
It's just like a musical of like animals, all like really famous voices.
Yeah.
And they do like, and so he is so dialed in. See, look at, he has the remote in his hand.
He's just ready to go.
Boys.
Hey, buddy.
Show him your remote.
Oh, yeah, he's got the channel ready.
It's the same thing with Hunter, man. The guy who loves Toy Story, he's dialed in. You put it on, he's done. You won't be able to get him to do a thing. Carries around the TV remote all day. That's awesome.
Dude, they're so funny. Like, this is, I don't know how he learned this, but you just tell him, give me a noggin, and he gives you like a little, hey, give me a noggin.
He's not even looking at you, just a head
Noggin.
bob.
No, he goes,
Yeah.